Good morning and welcome to today's Wellington Business Expo live stream. Today I'm joined by Jason Dennison and Chris Butler from JD Rigging. How are you both this morning?
Yeah, good, thanks, Hannah. Thank you and the Hutt Chambers for having us here.
Yeah, great. And your cranes look very good on your desks. So I think we have quite an interactive live stream this morning, won't we? So in these difficult times where many people are losing their jobs, it's great to see an industry like yours that is always calling out for people. With over 20 years experience in the crane industry, Jason and his team will talk you through some of the endless possibilities that are there for employment in this industry. And yesterday, Jason and Chris joined us at our Education to Employment Speed Meet with over 70 students from local secondary schools, didn't you?
We did, yes. Thoroughly enjoyed it too. It was good to see the young people out there, quite keen.
Yeah, they were keen, weren't they? It was great to see them there. So before I hand over to Jason and Chris to give you an overview of the career opportunities in the rigging industry, please remember to ask any questions you have below in the comments stream and of this video, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Thanks very much. I'll hand over to you, Jason and Chris.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Helen and the Chamber for having this event. So I just want to introduce myself as Jason. I'm the Managing Director of JD Rigging. I started the company back in 2004. I started with 2 staff members and sort of progressed through the years and grown the business to now we have 24 staff members on our roll. I have Chris Butler here who's beside me. He's been with us for how long, Chris?
I joined the company with Jason back in 2014, so around about 6 years now. And during that time, well, initially I was the operations manager, and then more recently I've taken over the role as a trainer and assessor. I've been a trainer for most of my professional life, and I think I found my niche here with JD Rigging. I enjoy this job very much. I have a passion for it, and I thoroughly enjoy and get a great deal of satisfaction seeing young people come through and be able to pick up the skills required to drive these quite complex machines.
Thanks, Chris. Before we get into it, I'll get Hannah to just show us a bit of an overview of what we actually do, so everybody gets a bit of an idea to see what is involved. So that's just a bit of a brief overview of us working on construction sites around the Wellington region, and they're one just in the Hutt as well. So our business, we do crane hire and hoist hire. We also do crane sales, service and maintenance of all the cranes, rigging services, Blockcam and monster draw sales and services. And Chris does a lot of our training, and I help out time to time doing little bits and pieces. So we do a little bit of training, and we travel around the country wide trying to do this and get more people into our industry. I'll just pass it on to Chris to talk a little bit more on how and what's required for training.
Well, as Jason has intimated there, he and I are both contracted to Skills New Zealand, and we provide training services not only internally but externally to other clients as well. And there's a greater demand now for training, partly because of the complexity of the machines, but also the levels of competencies and the standards that we need to set now require confidence in that people who operate these machines are doing them safely, and obviously minimising the amount of wear and potential damage to machines. They are very expensive, $1 million plus for some of these big machines. The question you may well want to ask is, who can do this? Who can operate a crane? Well, the simple answer to that is anybody. It's not a gender-specific trade. Women can do and can operate these cranes just as well as men can. What sort of characteristics would you need to be a crane operator or involved in the crane industry? Well, you'd need attention to detail as a good attribute. Be patient, have an interest in machinery, obviously, basic understanding of maths, especially in measuration, physics, gravity obviously is a is a factor with this industry, and you want to be a team person. Some of the roles that we have in the crane industry, if I could go through a few of them here, we have a term commonly known as a dogman, is a basic level of skill. This person though has huge responsibility, is in charge of or responsible for ensuring that any loads that are picked and placed on a site are done safely and securely. The confidence of the site is very much dependent on that person's ability to do the job properly. In conjunction with the dogman, we also obviously have the crane operator who sits up in the tower or possibly on the ground, and they work as a team together. The operator is responsible for everything above the load and ensuring that it gets from point A to point B smoothly with as less swing as possible, trying to catch that swing, making sure the load comes across nice and steady and smoothly and lands safely. Also, we have, moving on from that, we have supervisors, and these guys, they're responsible for being the point of contact, if you like, between the team who are involved with the crane and site management. So they help coordinate loads, they order them in a way, they provide lifting advice on what is the appropriate methods for lifting. So they are there as the experienced people helping to steer the crane activities in the right direction. Also, we have riggers. These are the people that are responsible for, in the first instance, erecting the cranes, putting them up at the start of a project. Then they're responsible for servicing them during the lifespan of the project. And typically these cranes are serviced monthly. And at the end of the job, they obviously have to pull them down again. And so that's usually a 3 or 4 day effort to remove the crane from site. And these guys are specialists and they do this job quite frequently. In terms of a pathway for somebody in the industry, basically the key step would be to first of all seek employment in construction. If you're interested in these things, you need to know and understand basic things about a construction site, such as methodologies, equipment, products, the management of a site, and most of all, very important nowadays, of course, is hazard awareness. Big emphasis on that. Once you've satisfied that that's where you want to go and you want to get further into cranes, then the next thing to do is to plan to get into crane activities. Ask advice from the site, from the management or the people who have employed you, and get involved in working with a mentor or a supervisor, understanding how the crane works. And then from that point onwards, you can get into some more formal training, such as a national certificate, level 3 for dogmen. And this will give you a good amount of knowledge that you can then use. And the good thing about the training and this particular national certificate is it's highly transportable. You could go anywhere you like around the country or internationally, and these same skills are very much sought after elsewhere.
Yeah, driving a crane anywhere, it's the same products anywhere around the countryside. So I'm involved a lot. When I first started was erecting and dismantling. So for most people that don't know anything about a tower crane or anything like that, is how do they get up to the job at the start of the day? Generally, they've got to enter the crane at the base down here and climb all the way up to the top. So they can spend long hours in there. They're the first ones generally to site because they're going to come in and check out their equipment, make sure it's safe to run, safe to be used, safe in all aspects. And he'll spend a good portion of that day sitting up in the top here in the cab. And this is where the cab will be working from. So that can range from whatever the height of the building is. It can range from 20 meters high to a place in Russia. They had one sitting up at 600 meters high in the sky. So a long way to go for if he wants to have a break during the day. So he's got to be pretty well maintained, sorted in the morning, sorted in the morning, and take his breaks or be rostered out. And that's why having 2 people or 3 people in the role on site can interchange. They can operate the crane. So they'll access this crane and actually walk up a ladder, get up to the top here. This is for anything. This is a tower of a crane. This is the cabin, A-frame. This is what we call a jib, where this trolley runs out, and there's an attachment on here which is a hook, and that's what the crane driver is in control of at the day. And he's got to try and keep this in good formation so it doesn't come in with any collisions with anything on the site, and keep well maintained. Anything else you could explain about that there, Chris?
I think the key thing that I've experienced as a trainer is that your skill is appreciated by the people on the ground by how well you operate your crane. If, as I said at the beginning, if you're an attention to detail person, you see this occupation as being highly professional, and you try to be accurate and smooth all of the time, and you're thinking about the people working below you, because your operation is essentially a means to an ends.
So places that we've worked for many big companies around, like Fletcher's, Hawkins, Naylor's, LT McGuinness, Hawkins, and we've gone around the countryside doing a lot of different projects. Projects have ranged from building sites for movies, for airports. What other projects have we done there, Chris?
Well, I know this is largely about crane activity, but we also have interest and experience in rigging applications as well. Fly-by-wire, weta workshops.
Yeah, so that's our terminology is rigger. So we've called ourselves a rigging company, being that the fact that we just don't deal with just cranes alone. We also deal with many attributes with lifting stuff or shifting stuff. So we've gone from working in the movies where we've had to lift stuff that's been up hanging in the airports. Weta workshops, we've done a lot of stuff for them over the past.
They're an interesting company to work for. They have some quite dynamic and unusual tasks for us, and that's always an interesting session with Weta workshops.
Yeah. Why should people be interested in being crane operators and that? With this job, it comes with high risk, but what it also comes with is some good rewards in the pocket. So many kids can come away with having decent earnings from working with us, and actually get to travel and get to learn a lot more as time goes on. The staff that we've had come in with us have sort of progressed and started with basic skills and nothing, and now they're out running jobs and looking after many of various building sites. Yeah, and have we got Hannah?
We got any questions?
Any questions at all there come through? So there we've got one. Which of the cranes that you have on your desk are the most used in New Zealand? So this one here is what we call a hammerhead crane. It's the most efficient crane in the tower crane side of things. Efficiency because it uses a lot less power, and for the way of the design of it, it can have better capacities than what you'd have here is what we'd call a luffing crane. A luffing crane becoming a little bit more popular just in the big CBD areas. Reason for is they have less overswing and they won't reach over other building sites. A lot of people don't want to have a construction site so close. They don't see that in favour. They think that there could be a lot of incidents with these types of cranes. But really, in fact, if a crane's going to have an incident or do anything badly, it'll be catastrophe. So this is where we come in to make sure that we have it well regulated and well in place. As you'll see, there's from movies overseas, you'll see a lot of cranes. What they'll do is they'll end up toppling over and will affect neighbouring building sites before they would actually lose particular loads over any particular areas.
The greatest contributor to incidents, if I can just add to what Jason said, is typically it's human error. These cranes are immensely strong. The technologies around the design of them these days is far superior to what it used to be. And a crane such as this Hammerhead could stand up to 300 km/h winds and has done so in places like Europe and the United States if it is set up correctly prior to the winds coming onto the crane. So they are very, very strong. Like I say, it's mostly human error. That's why training is so important, that we get the right people with the right levels of competency to operate these things.
Also, we're doing a product now that sort of come out. It's called Blockcam, which is a camera that's up in the crane. It's a new product for us that we've been putting out there, which is helping the health and safety and just making sure. It's a little bit like a camera on most cars now that does a little bit of a backup or gives the operators a little bit of foresight of what's actually happening down below his hook. Because up in the crane, all generally in the past that they've been able to see is what's been out their window. And once you've built a building up here, you cannot see on the other side of the building. So you rely heavily on the communication side from the staff on the ground to the guy in the cab. And if the communications sort of lacks because there's batteries or anything go foul on any of the radios, you've got a backup system in the crane now, which is a Blockcam, and that's a great adventure that we've gone into, isn't it?
I've personally used these things, and I like them a lot for all of the reasons that Jason has mentioned, but also because it effectively gives us a third set of eyes. As I mentioned earlier, it's a team effort, dogman, crane operator. The camera actually practically acts as a third person. It's another set of eyes. And also with these cameras, my understanding is they have an audio capability as well, which means that you could practically talk through the camera, bearing in mind that the load is probably a lot closer to the ground, and talk to the dogman about what he or she may be doing. I like them. They're great, and I think as the technology is advanced, they will improve further.
Yeah. At the start, a lot of people were a little bit apprehensive with the cameras, but now time's gone on and I've seen them. It's a great tool. They've actually started pushing for it. So there seems to be significant development and work going on. So you do foresee the growth in your business over the next 12 to 24 months? I do. At the moment, COVID has impacted. It has impacted everyone. Nobody has been impervious to that. With talking to them, they're sort of coming through the other side of it. With the lockdown, it gave us time to sort of reflect on our business and our core business and what we were actually doing. So in hindsight, that time where we sort of reflected gave us a little bit of time to think about what we're doing and how we're doing. And now, at this point of time, we're actually going through a construction boom. And that was sort of happening just before COVID sort of happened. Auckland sort of felt that in their area over the last 5 to 6 years. And now it's sort of moving its way down here into Wellington, where we're sort of going from now job to job in quite a fashion and seeing a lot more cranes established around our Wellington area.
Of course, with that comes the need for trained, competent people, and as we all know, there's a huge shortage of staff who have those necessary skills and are in a position to competently operate these machines. And that's my task and my focus is, along with Jason and JD Rigging, is to ensure that we're out there getting people who are interested in these machines, and getting them up there and keeping people safe and getting the job done.
Always in the past, to find staff has always been a funny one for most companies. Like for myself, for me to get actually into this industry, I sort of fell into the industry. It wasn't something that I went through a school.
No pun intended, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was walking around a building site over in Australia and seeing these magnificent pieces of equipment sitting on a thing, and next minute I was up driving one of them a year later, which was quite good and easy to get into. What's the next piece of technology to be used with the cranes? Well, we've got a couple of little smaller cranes like these ones here where they've used on remote control. Remote controls are probably not a favour for a lot of people because, you know, our wind and weather constraints here in Wellington, we get quite high winds and we're quite subjective to earthquakes and everything else. So having these other things that sort of take over from having personnel inside it, we don't foresee that happening in the next 5 to 10 years. But on some of these smaller equipments, yes, that's already established. On some of these other cranes, some of the gear that they have, the technology is evolving quite fast for having multiple crane sites. They actually have gear in it that stops these cranes coming into a collision zone. So if you've got a multiple crane zone, they have all the stuff on it to actually stop these cranes or slow them down from coming into clash zones.
Yeah, they call these exclusion zones, and they can be programmed into the computer in the crane so that the operator cannot move through a certain zone in case there is some potential for a crane collision.
So a crane like this can operate in 360 degrees, where you'll have a mobile crane will have to set up and be in certain position, which a building in that will give it a lot of constraints where you'll have to set up and pull it down quite a lot. But generally, the product with a tower crane, we can reach 360, and they can reach up to anything from this point here will be 0 to out to 70, and some of them even bigger these days. They're getting up to 80 and 90 meters reach out, so they've got quite a big wingspan. So we can do a lot of great areas and cover a great lot of ground and be in a short time and move equipment. So we have some of them range from 5-ton capacity, and they can go right up to, at the moment, probably the largest in New Zealand at the moment, they can lift 90 tons. So you have quite good lifting abilities around our countryside at the moment. And we have a lot of equipment that is roaming around our countryside. For a little country, we have sort of excelled in doing a lot of this stuff with this equipment. Anything else? Any more questions?
I've actually got a couple of questions. That was absolutely fascinating. I regret not getting a bit of time with you guys yesterday at our Education to Employment Speed Meet. Can I ask you, what sort of age do you take people on into this sort of career? Do you take them from secondary school?
Kind of wondering if you're going to ask that question, actually.
Yeah, well, you just know. I noticed you said they should get some construction experience first. So
ideally, having a bit of basic health and safety is really quite prominent with this, because it is the most dangerous piece of equipment on site. So, yeah, we generally like to have someone with a couple of years experience, but we're not previous to having somebody that's straight out of school that really can show an interest in it. We can put them with people and be able to make them evolve and understand what's required.
One of the problems we have, and I'm not quite sure what the solution is, Hannah, is that at the moment the crane industry doesn't run apprenticeships. So anybody that we were to take on at a young age, and obviously we have to be mindful of the Health and Safety Act, provisions of the greater risk workplace management regulation, which asks us to focus on young people. So in that respect, we need to have proper staff, suitably experienced, to act as mentors and supervisors to look after these people, because as I mentioned earlier, there is major risks, as you can appreciate, looking at this machinery, if things go wrong. And it's, from my point of view as a trainer, it's something I'm quite passionate about, that we don't bring people in who are undercooked or too fast into these sort of roles.
We are looking at developing and making something that's designed so we can bring in the youth and make sure that we can mentor them through a better passageway too, so they're not sort of chucked into the coalface of it all, as to say.
Yeah, it's certainly a big responsibility to be operating such machinery, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Most responsible job on the site, and everybody sort of takes that a bit for granted. A lot of people will sort of aren't aware of just how many near misses or accidents could potentially happen.
A good operator makes it look very easy, but when you think about it, this person's working in isolation, and there's no immediate supervisory controls there. If things start to go wrong, or you know, there's an issue developing, there's solely the driver of this machine, some considerable distance up the crane. Yes, we have communication, but it's still a remote workplace, and with all that equipment around you, and the things can fall from height, and it's big responsibility.
Yeah. Looks like a very big responsibility. Can I thank you so much for sharing your industry with us today? I'm sure that the people who watch this live stream will be amazed that this is an opportunity for people as a career. And certainly I can understand that people will find it a very exciting place to be involved in an exciting industry. And I'm aware of a lot of construction in our commercial space in Lower Hutt, for example, and in the Greater Wellington region that's coming in the next 10 years with things like shovel-ready projects and Riverlink and other projects like that. So I can see, I agree with you, Jason, around the demand and the growth opportunities for the sector. So thank you so much for sharing your industry with us. Thanks for taking part in our Wellington Business Expo. I'm sure that this live stream will get a really good amount of reach and open a lot of eyes for young people into a new career option.
Thank you very much, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Yeah, thank you, Helen, and thank you, Hannah, and thank you for the Chamber for running this event, and great exposure. Thank you.
Yeah, great. You're more than welcome. So our next live stream will be at 2 p.m. today. So if you haven't registered for one of our events over the rest of this week and next week, then head over to the Wellington Business Expo.nz website and take a look at the range of events that we're offering until the end of next week. We've got 3 excellent business safaris next week where we're taking small groups of businesses on a bus tour around different business sites and going behind the scenes on those business sites. So you can book online for those as well. And this really is, this whole Business Expo, of which this live stream is one part of, is an excellent business event for everyone to attend. We have over 70 exhibition stands on our website that you can have a look at. I know, JD Rigging, you have a really good exhibition stand on our website as well, don't you?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
great. Yeah, they certainly did. And there's all sorts of expo deals and prizes available online as well. So encourage you all to pop over to Wellington Business Expo NZ, have a really good look around, take a look at all the fabulous businesses we've got who are showcasing themselves across the Wellington region, and I encourage you to make contact with them. Thanks again, Jason and Chris, for your time today. Thank you for getting involved and supporting our work, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Cool. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.